Imagine waking up with a fever so intense that standing feels impossible. Your body aches, your throat burns, and every breath feels heavier than normal. You look around, but there is no doctor coming, no pharmacy, no antibiotics waiting in a cabinet. You're thousands of years in the past, surrounded by people who don't know what bacteria or viruses are, and somehow you still have to survive. For most of human history, sickness wasn't something you treated with a prescription. It was something you endured, avoided, or tried to understand. A simple wound could become deadly within days. A bad tooth could spread infection into the jaw. Diarrhea could kill through dehydration. A respiratory infection could become fatal without oxygen or modern treatment. Yet humans survived disease for hundreds of thousands of years. The strange part is that they didn't survive because ancient medicine was secretly as advanced as modern medicine. They survived because their bodies, behavior, environment, and communities all became part of the defense. In 1991, hikers discovered the frozen body of Ötzi the Iceman in the Alps, where he had remained preserved for more than 5,000 years. Scientists later discovered evidence of intestinal parasites, worn joints, dental problems, and several other health issues. Ötzi was not a perfectly healthy prehistoric hunter. He was carrying multiple problems while traveling through a dangerous mountain environment. Yet he had survived long enough to reach adulthood and develop extensive knowledge of his surroundings. His belongings included pieces of birch fungus, which researchers have suggested may have been carried for medicinal or other practical purposes. Ancient humans didn't know what an antimicrobial compound was. They didn't need the chemical explanation to notice that some natural substances worked better than others. A plant could reduce pain, a resin could seal a wound, a particular fungus could help against parasites. Knowledge accumulated through observation long before anyone could explain why it worked. But prehistoric medicine began with something even simpler: cleaning and protecting injuries. Archaeological evidence from ancient human remains shows healed fractures dating back hundreds of thousands of years. A broken bone that healed correctly required time, immobilization, food, and protection from further injury. Someone had to help the injured person move. Someone had to bring them water. Someone had to provide food while they couldn't hunt. In a small hunter-gatherer group, sickness could turn into a group problem almost immediately. This may be one reason cooperation became so important to human survival. When you became too weak to feed yourself, someone else had to feed you. Around 780,000 years ago, humans at Gesher Beno Yaakov in present-day Israel were repeatedly using controlled fire. Fire transformed food by cooking it, making calories easier to digest and reducing some parasites and pathogens. Heating food also allowed humans to eat a wider range of plants and animals with fewer biological risks. But fire couldn't eliminate every disease. Some infections came through insects, others came through contaminated water, wounds, parasites, or other people. Ancient humans couldn't see bacteria moving through water. They couldn't see viruses entering their bodies. They could only observe patterns: who became sick, where sickness appeared, and what happened before recovery or death. And those patterns eventually taught humans one of the oldest medical lessons of all: sometimes preventing sickness was more important than trying to cure it. One of the simplest ways to avoid disease was also one of the hardest to understand. Stay away from people who were already sick. Humans may not have known about germs, but they could recognize patterns of contagion. One person became sick, then another, then several more. Communities could learn that certain illnesses seemed to spread after close contact. Archaeologist and anthropologist Sharon DeWitte has studied skeletal remains from medieval populations and shown how disease can leave measurable signatures in human bones. Bones can reveal infections, nutritional stress, injuries, and repeated periods of physiological hardship. Your skeleton can become a record of everything your body survived. But bones also reveal something important. Many ancient people survived serious illnesses that could have killed them. Healed fractures are some of the clearest examples. When a broken bone successfully repairs itself, new bone forms around the damaged area over several weeks or months. That process requires enormous amounts of energy and usually requires the injured person to avoid further damage. For a prehistoric hunter, a broken leg could mean months without hunting. Without group support, that injury could become a death sentence. Yet archaeological skeletons repeatedly show fractures that healed. Someone must have brought those injured people food. Someone must have protected them while they recovered. Someone must have allowed them to remain part of the group even when they could no longer contribute normally. Ancient medicine was therefore not only about plants and wounds, it was also about keeping vulnerable people alive long enough to recover. Dental disease tells a similar story. By the time agriculture expanded around 10,000 years ago, many human populations experienced major increases in tooth decay and other oral problems. Diets rich in carbohydrates created an environment where harmful bacteria could damage teeth more easily. A severe tooth infection could spread beyond the mouth and become life-threatening. There were no antibiotics to stop it. Some ancient skulls show evidence of attempts to treat painful teeth, including drilling into infected areas. Archaeologists have found evidence of dental drilling in prehistoric populations thousands of years ago. The procedure was primitive and extremely painful, but it reveals something extraordinary. Humans were not simply accepting disease as unavoidable, they were experimenting. Plants became another enormous laboratory. Across thousands of generations, humans encountered tens of thousands of plant species and learned which ones could be eaten, applied to wounds, or avoided completely. Some knowledge was probably wrong. Some treatments may have done nothing. Others may genuinely have reduced symptoms or infection. Natural selection didn't preserve every treatment. It preserved the people who survived long enough to pass useful knowledge forward. Long before humans understood germs, medicine had already begun, not with hospitals or laboratories, but with a sick person, a watching community, and the question of what happened next.